Hello and welcome to another PlanetDestiny video. Today we'll be taking a look at the Hunger of Crota legendary rocket launcher. We'd like to give Terminator CPR a big shout out for letting us use his account and get some time with this weapon. The Hunger of Crota is a legendary rocket launcher that's awarded for defeating Crota in the Crota's End raid. It's often compared to Gjallarhorn in that it's a solar damage rocket launcher with tracking missiles and cluster bombs on detonation. As far as the good things go, if you're looking for a legendary rocket launcher that can take the place of Gjallarhorn, then Hunger of Crota is going to really be just the closest thing that can do that. Aside from blast radius and velocity, the base stats are almost identical. Hunger of Crota has a rate of fire of 11, which is the exact same as Gjallarhorn. The stability of 62 and reload of 71 are higher than Gjallarhorn's 58 stability and 69 reload. Once fully upgraded, you have the option to increase the blast radius or velocity. The best choice is to increase the blast radius though, since that'll bring it higher than Gjallarhorn's while keeping the velocity at a very respectable 78. The biggest hit against this weapon is actually its very low ammo reserves. Without any armor that increases heavy ammo, you are only able to hold 2 in the mag and 2 in reserve. Fortunately, it goes up to 6 when you get a heavy ammo increase, which brings its ammo reserves into the correct range for a weapon that you can actually use. Now, how does this weapon perform in PvE and PvP? In PvE, you can expect it to be doing similar damage to Gjallarhorn once it's fully upgraded. Both Hunger of Crota and Gjallarhorn take down Frigoris in about 3 rockets, depending on how many of the cluster bombs actually land. They will both obliterate any tier 2 enemy as well. The only difference between the two in damage is really from the cluster bombs. Hunger of Crota doesn't have that guaranteed chance to land the bombs on a single target. Often you just have them scatter around your target and it'll damage nearby things. For PvE, if you're needing to equip a different exotic for a certain fight, then honestly Hunger of Crota is going to easily take the place of Gjallarhorn without much damage missed. In PvP, Hunger of Crota is an entirely different story. It works well at the longer ranges like any tracking rocket launcher, but doesn't really work in the mid-ranges. The aim down sight speed is actually pretty slow, and it'll affect the lock-on portion of the rockets. Long story short, this rocket launcher is okay for larger maps in PvP, but its low ammo reserves and slow tracking speed just don't make it a worthwhile choice in PvP. Alright, let's take a quick look at some of the perks on Hunger of Crota. Starting out here, we have soft launch, less recoil, penalty to velocity. This tree is actually really weird because the only other upgrades just lessen the stability, even though linear compensator says it's more predictable recoil and slightly boosts velocity and blast radius. It doesn't actually affect the stats, and then the same thing for aggressive launch. More predictable recoil, enhanced blast radius, reduced velocity and more recoil just hurts the stability. The recoil is... I know in the past I've said stability isn't that big of an issue on rocket launchers, but I mean, why would you bother hurting the stats with these two when soft launch gives you the maximized stats already? And then we have tracking. Shells fired from this weapon track their targets. Obviously, this is pretty much a key thing that will change this one from being, just another Heathen's Vengeance clone. It has very good tracking on it and really makes the rocket launcher into actually worth equipping. Then we have our upgrade damage. This tree here, we have quick draw. This weapon can be drawn unbelievably fast. It's okay for starting out. And then you're going to get Javelin, increased warhead velocity. As you can see here, it gets the velocity up to around 90 or so. It's pretty good, but the blast radius is still kind of low, so I end up just going with heavy payload here. It gets the blast radius up a little bit higher. The velocity is still really good. It's not going to be impacted that much. And then we have cluster bomb. Rockets create cluster bombs when they detonate. This really turns the weapon into kind of a mini Gjallarhorn for the most part. It has tracking and it has cluster bombs after detonation. While the cluster bombs don't track in on enemies as well, it's nice when they are able to actually land on the same target or at least in the same area, dealing some pretty nice damage. If you need to clear out a room, this is a pretty good rocket launcher for that. And then of course our Hive Disruptor. Hunger of Crota is often called the mini Gjallarhorn in my playgroup, and it really lives up to the name. While it isn't as optimal as Gjallarhorn, it comes close enough that you can easily equip a different exotic and you won't be missing out on much of that damage potential in your heavy weapons area. For PvP, Hunger of Crota will fall a bit short of other legendary rocket launchers out there, but for PvE it still remains a wonderful choice. If you're lucky enough to get this as a drop from Crota, max it out ASAP. It's very worth the radiant energy. This has been Patrick Casey with PlanetDestiny, your guide to the Destiny universe.